Greetings, fellow Star Trek Starship Collector. This is Joshua Mitchell. We are back this month with Episode 6 in Fanhome's die-cast official Starships collection for Star Trek. This month we're looking at the Shrike, the villain vessel from Star Trek Picard Season 3, captained by Vadic. What we're going to do is unbox it together, take a close look at all of the details, and see how it compares in size to some of the previous releases from Fanhome. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. Let's unbox the Shrike and see what we have got inside. I haven't seen any kind of complaints about any sort of damage or breaks or anything like that that's taken place with this ship. A little different because it didn't have, nacelles, but I guess some of the wings could sort of have some damage potentially, but let's take a look. All right, we got her open. And of course, as always, starting off, we've got our little design document, our booklet here. Let's just take a look inside of that real quick. The Shrike, captained by Vadic, is essentially a flying weapons platform, loaded for bear with all kinds of torpedoes, energy weapons, and of course the portal weapon attached on the ventral side of the vessel. At 659 meters, the Shrike is slightly larger than a Galaxy-class ship, but can be crewed by a smaller complement. The ship went through so many iterations of design, as you can see in some of the pictures here from the book. Ultimately, though, what we see is what we got in Star Trek Picard Season 3, the mean, spider-like vessel that is the Shrike. All right, so the book is cool, but let's go ahead and set that to the side, and we're going to open her up and see what we've got. There she is. She looks longer than I expected. Very pointy and pokey. To be expected, of course, because that's how she appeared on screen. Let's take a look. Wow, she's got some good heft to her. The die-cast metal throughout the bottom. Plastic on the top, but the bottom is all the solid metal. You can see some nice detailing on the underneath side here, which we'll take a closer look at. The impulse engines are all painted red on the back, missing on the Enterprise F, but not missing on the Shrike. An abundance of impulse engines, but yeah, very good. All right, well, why don't we take a closer look and see how she appears when we zoom in. So here we're starting with the forward section of the Shrike, looking at her talons and her pincers. Is what it really looks like. As we zoom in on the starboard wing here, we can see some Aztecing detail. The windows are off the mark. We'll see that better in a still shot later on, but some detailing here with the paneling, the Aztecing going on even on an enemy vessel. A lot of earthy tones as we look here now where the bridge would be. The golds, orange, brown, green. Some of the colors almost remind me more of a Ferengi vessel, which this isn't the case, of course. This is a mean ship, but so nice detailing. It's not the most detailed ship that you'll see. I mean, we get so much more with Federation starships, but it is still nice to have more detail than you would realize from the screen. Now here we're looking at the aft section with the impulse engines. Now this is not like a separate piece of acrylic or plastic or anything. This is all painted on directly, so either painted onto the die-cast metal or painted onto the plastic resin, as the case may be. But at least we have impulse engines, Enterprise F. As we move along, here's just one more angle from the dorsal side of the ship. So again, nice detailing, not exactly what you would expect to see, because we didn't necessarily get to see a lot of in-depth detail on screen for Picard Season 3. So a little surprising, but again, I don't know, I find it a little lacking. Now here's something to mention. These little pincers here up at the top, and the tips of the wings too, any of the plastic resin is delicate. Be very careful with it. If you pick this thing up the wrong way, those things will most certainly snap off. So handle with care. Flipping over to the ventral side, now we can see here, you would think that that's the deflector dish, but it's not. It's actually the portal weapon that is hanging underneath the ship. Again, neat detailing with the Aztecing. The color patterns and schemes that you see, just like on the top, are here on the bottom as well. And again, surprising more than you would expect. Got some still shots going on here now. You can see the windows, bright orange. They're close to the mark, but they're still off. And even when they kind of hit, it almost looks like they didn't actually paint into the hole, so they look like they're missing. This is a shot from in between the wings, showing that there's still detailing in between, which is nice to carry that through. We've got a rear shot of the Shrike with the impulse engines there. Then we have got her from the port side, and we've got a nice front view, kind of coming at you. Oh no. And then lastly, her angled up. She sits angled up inside of her stand. She could teach the stargazer a thing or two. Well, let's move on now and take a look at the size comparisons. So it seemed fitting for the season to compare the Titan A with the Shrike here. So the Titan A is coming in at 8 5/8 inches, or 21.9 centimeters. And then you've got the Shrike at 7 3/8 inches, or 18.73 centimeters. So scale-wise, since we know that the Shrike is a little larger than a Galaxy class and the Titan is smaller than a Galaxy class, it doesn't quite match up, but they still look nice next to each other. Now we'll move on and compare it to the XL Enterprise F. And what we'll see here, again, the Shrike is 7 3/8 inches, or 18.73 centimeters. The Enterprise is 10.5 inches, 26.67 centimeters. So quite a large difference between the standard-sized Shrike and the XL Enterprise F. So there we have it, our 6th episode with Fanhome. We're looking at the Shrike from Star Trek Picard Season 3, the villain ship, captained by Vadic. It looks very interesting. It's an interesting design. It looks like a Predator, looked like it's mean, and we know that it was. The Aztecing and details are pretty cool. The impulse engines are painted on in the back. The windows are off the mark again, like always, and this time it's a little trickier because they're orange. Bright orange windows. It's heavy, it sets well in the base, and that's because the bottom half is all die-cast metal. But be very careful with how you handle it with the top. With the plastic resin up top, especially these tines at the ends or in the center, if you pick this up the wrong way, you're bound to have trouble. It could probably easily snap off. So handle with care. Otherwise, a nice ship. Not one for me. I don't think I'm going to keep it in my collection, but maybe you feel differently. And if you do, tell me down below. Let me know what you think. Now, next month, we want you to come back because we'll be looking at the USS Titan. And no, we're not talking about her. We're talking about her predecessor. Now, we've seen it on screen in Lower Decks in cartoon form. Eagle Moss made a really colorful, beautiful model of that. But we're going to take a look at it if it were in live action coloring, like it were on Star Trek Picard. So come back. We'll take a look at that together and see what they have to offer. In the meantime, I'm Joshua Mitchell. Live long and prosper.